Just on Vardy, he was obviously struggling towards the end. Quite a few times he tried to keep going. It was obviously proving painful. Do you think the fact you couldn't make that sub made it worse for him? Was it getting worse? I mean, that he had to keep playing.
Yeah. But what was the catch-22 really? Because when he was lying down, I'd sort of prepared in my mind that he was coming off, and that we'd have to play that last bit with 10 men. And the warrior that he is, he came over and because at the time he wasn't 100% sure, he'd felt his leg, but it might, he got the knock on his ankle as well. But that spirit, he didn't want to come out of the team, and you can see him. He was still running, he was still moving, and it was a higher sort of strain in the hamstring, so it allowed him to continue running. But there's no doubt, if we could have made another sub, then that would have sort of helped protect him for sure.
I mean, obviously the Boxing Day game is, traditional, isn't it, in this country especially. Do you think it's the 28th and the 29th game that most of the managers, maybe including yourself, have the issue with?
Yeah, especially if you're in European football.
Yeah.
It's tough, and people will say, well, if you're in European football, you'll have the biggest squads. But that's not always the case, and especially this period where COVID has been the real difficult challenge. So yeah, but I think it's that second game, and like I say, we won it, of course, and it was an incredible victory for us. But it still, for me, doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it right. The risk element for players, like I said earlier, John, in the broadcast, it's not that the players cannot play. You see the effort and you see the resilience of my players and the spirit and everything that they showed. But it's no good to you if you're really, really fatigued because you've played less. You've played a couple of days earlier in a huge game, a really intense game. If you end up with an ACL injury or a broken leg because you're making a tackle, it's a tired tackle. Or a guy's tackled you, it's a clumsy tackle. That's when it's an issue. And that's, I think, like I said earlier, I think that's the player welfare element. I think Jordan Henderson would have been talking about.
Yeah.
And that is something then that can affect the livelihood of a player. He may never play again, or it might push him back in his career. And that, because fatigue will play a huge part in injury.
Just finally, I just want to ask you about Dewsbury Hall. It's obviously great for any manager to see a local lad coming through. What's it also say about the pathway for players going out on loan to the Championship? I know James Maddison's spoken many times about how he went to Aberdeen and had those sort of loan spells. How important for Dewsbury Hall was that spell at Luton, do you think, last season?
It was huge. I think his first loan was important. Like when I came in to here nearly 3 years ago, he was expressed as a talented player. But hadn't been in loan and hadn't had that experience. He's obviously playing in the 23s, and I think he himself felt that he maybe needed that sort of loan period, and that's what we encourage him to do, to go on and go on free pressure. So when he went to Blackpool first, that was a great loan for him, because then he sensed the pressure of playing for his living, and he was able to score some goals there. Went to Luton was the next step for him in the Championship, and went to Nathan, who's a really good coach who could work with, and again next level up. But he really shone at that level, and I seen a big difference in him when he came back. He was game ready, and I think it is important. Some players won't need to do that, like Luke Thomas. He hasn't done that, but I think there are other players that, if there's other players in front of them, they need that challenge of going, and he really embraced the challenge. He loved the competitive edge to all of that. And when he came back in the summer, hopefully I'll tell you now, if you asked him, I said, it's just about patience. The plan is to drip you into games, get some first team experience, play some European games, and then build it through. And then eventually he's got himself into the team, and I'm delighted for him.
Okay, Sahil.
Cheers, John.
Hello, Brendan.
Hi, Sahil.
So I remember how James Madison was going through a rough patch in the middle of the season, and he had a thorough discussion about it with you. Now, in his last 6 games, in the Premier League, he has 4 goals and 3 assists. He's pulling things together in the middle for Leicester, and really seems to have rediscovered his old form. Can you share a few insights into how he has progressed over this period?
Yeah, well, the consistency is, I think James is saying that if you're going to be a top player and deemed a top player, it's what you're going to do. One is going to be availability of games. So, the top players are consistently playing, and they're doing it for more than, a run of games. It's a run of seasons, and that'll determine whether you're deemed a top player or not. So he's, fingers crossed, he stayed clear of injury. He's working very, very hard. He's preparing himself well, and he's seeing the benefits of that in the team. And now it's a case of continuing with that and making those performances consistent right the way through the season, and then rolling that out over the next few seasons.
Okay, yeah. Rob Tanner.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Hi, Brendan. Hi, Brendan.
You okay?
Yeah, not bad, mate. I've done calculations. You've got 9 out still. You're going to lose another 4. It's clearly not sustainable. You're not the only ones in this boat, as well as Norwich will testify as well. What is the solution? Because the schedule seems to be getting chock-a-block. Every season there seems to be more competitions as well, more games. What is the solution?
The solution is less football. But it's how that is going to be worked out. As you say, Rob, it just seems to be that where we're talking more about the demands of the modern player, and especially the players that are playing international football and playing at the highest level, their demands are just been added to each year, and it somehow it needs the governing bodies and FIFA, UEFA, and the federations to then try and come together to take out games. I seen something about a game that was planned for the end of the season at Wembley or something. Is it some final that's on between two? And you're thinking, well, there's an extra game that's put in for nobody. I'll find out exactly what it was. But I just think that it's clearly, not been thought about in relation to what actually the demands are put on a player. And like I said before, the players were robots and weren't human, we'd win every game, but they are. And there has to be a thought going into that, and also for the spectacle, because supporters, and we all want to see the best players playing as healthily as they possibly can. And okay, from time to time they're going to be pushed over the hill a bit, and that's also great to see how that resilience, how they can deal with that. But it becomes more than that. It becomes too big a risk, because, like I said, if you're going to players, people want to see Jamie Vardy. They want to see the top players playing. And if they're not protected, then it really does become a challenge for them to maximise their talents and play to the highest level as often as they're asked to do.
Can I also ask very quickly about Dennis Pratt? Is there a possibility you could recall him? Because you need bodies.
Sorry, Rob, you just cut out there.
Can you recall Dennis Pratt? Because you need bodies.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what that loan agreement looks like. I wouldn't have thought so. So, but yeah, it's something that we're discussing at the moment.
Thank you. Good luck.
Cheers, Rob. Thank you.
Okay, we'll finish with Graham Hill.
Brendan, I just wondered how you view 2021 as a 12-month period, because obviously a great day at Wembley in May, but ever since then it just seems to have been pure frustration with key injuries, and you haven't been able to build on that, it seems. Is that how you see it?
No, I see 2021 as being a great season of progress. I see the season as being a historical season. My view of it all is bigger than just the game. You know, it's the overall development of the club. I think now if you look at winning 2 trophies in this period, really putting ourselves there as a team that when we have the availability of players, of course, that we can really, really compete at the top of this league. But clearly we've created a foundation here in order to build something. But I'm also very realistic and know where that ceiling might be. It's going to be very, very difficult for us from a financial perspective to jump above Manchester City and Liverpool and Chelsea and Arsenal and Tottenham. But it doesn't mean we can't develop and grow as the club. And I think so. Clearly, we've made progress again this season or this year. We've moved to this amazing new training facility, and like I say, it's progress isn't a straight line. It's never smooth, you know. And like we say, there's fits and starts within it as well. But for me, 2021 has been a season of progress, and I see the development of the players, of the club, and I'll go into next season with a great hope and great expectation for us to continue with that.
And when you look at the players who can come back from injury, Fofana, Justin, and then you look at the younger players who are also making their mark at the moment, do you see like a really strong finish for Leicester this season? And certainly some optimism maybe after February time.
Well, there's plenty of optimism, and as I said, it's just it is frustrating whenever you clearly can't pick on your best players, especially for a club like ourselves. We're not having Wesley Fofana out and then able to bring in another. Do you know what I mean? We're the club that can suffer if they're not available, and we've had so many of them. However, there's still other pluses within it all. You know, the emergence of some of our younger players, as I said, moving to this training facility. So I've got a great hope, and I think that, you know, we're a team that is a challenge for these top clubs, and that's what we've wanted to be, and we've wanted to, when we hope that we can sustain that, you know. But we can't get away from the fact that it is a huge challenge for us because of the other competitors at the top of the league. But now 2022, I'm really looking forward to, again, looking to keep improving and developing where we can.
Okay, I can see a hand from Luke Pawley to finish with.
Hi, Brendan. Just you mentioned about JJ, and you've talked about him playing in the under-23s games. Have you got a set date on that yet at all?
Yeah, not as of yet. We had to wait and see how it was when he's come back in. So we're hoping, look, that in the next few weeks, it's just managing that very carefully. He was, as I said, due to play a few weeks ago, but had to come out of that game, and now he's just back in training and working. So we're hoping that we can pinpoint some of those over the next few weeks.
Yeah, you've talked about money not growing on trees heading into January. Are loans an option for you, or are they off the table as well?
No, well, we'll have to finalise where we are with all of that. But yeah, if there's loans available that can help us, then that may be something that we can look at.
Great stuff. Just one more from me. A word on your academy, if you wouldn't mind. Obviously, we've seen with Thomas and Dewsbury Hall and Chilwell as well, and the last we can keep listing the players that Leicester have produced over the years. Just a word on sort of the work Leicester City are doing, particularly now around youth development, and how hands-on are you with that, given your background at Chelsea as well?
No, look, the guys here have done a fantastic job over many years. You know, as far as I can always remember, since being involved in football and youth development, Leicester's always produced players for the first team. You know, and that goes back numbers of years. I'm only too happy to continue to do that. My background is development, so I will always look to a young player. That's a part of my vision in terms of giving those players an opportunity when they are deserving of it and when they're ready. So I think the guys here, they do a great job. You know, the resources again aren't the same as what they are at some of the bigger clubs, but they maximise the investment in the talent here, and hopefully this pipeline of young players can continually come through. So yeah, you look at Barnesy, you look at Amza, made appearances, you look at Luke, you look at Kiernan coming in. So really, really talented young players, and I just think hopefully we can continue with that and continue with the great work that's gone on here.
Thank you, Brendan. Happy New Year.
Cheers, you too, Luke.